Hey, now, question for you. Are you staying in your marriage because you don't want to harm your kids? And I ask that because that was my experience. I had stayed married, like I started seriously thinking about divorce about 3 years before I asked my husband to leave. How many of you can relate? Can you? Are you there? Now, one of the things that I had to get out of my head was this belief that divorce would harm my kids, that their lives would never be the same, that their lives would be destroyed if their dad and I split up. And it took, right? That is really strong conditioning we've been experienced to. And what I discovered is that conditioning isn't necessarily true. I mean, as a practicing family law attorney, I saw people fight, where the police had to be called every time the children were exchanged. That kind of divorce harms children. And if you don't believe me, check out adverse childhood experiences. Harms children, no doubt. They are caught in the middle of conflict. And conflict, it's something that's difficult enough for an adult to deal with if it isn't resolved and if it's nasty. And for kids, even more so. So what I had to do was I could think of two examples of women who were single parents. Their kids were fabulous. And I thought, oh, it's possible. It's possible to divorce in a way that shows that that dominant picture is a lie. It's a myth. Now, divorce and that myth, yes, if you follow the traditional stream of you hire lawyers immediately and you start fighting in court, you are going to have that kind of experience. Divorce will harm your kids. But if you can figure out, okay, how can we do this so our kids will thrive? Now, my North Star goal was actually, I wanted my children to have the best relationship possible with their dad. And you might think, yeah, Kim, your marriage, it must have been easy. It wasn't, okay? My spouse, for religious reasons, didn't believe in divorce. And there were other issues at play. And it easily could have been a knockdown, drag out fight. It wasn't, right? I had seen these clients and I realized when I got serious about transitioning our family that I was terrified of traditional divorce because I didn't want to harm my kids. I was committed to my kids having the best relationship possible with their father and with me. So I it doesn't have to be. Divorce doesn't have to be something that harms your kids. So what can you do to make divorce life affirming for your children? Well, first off, commit that it's not going to be a battle, right? Set a goal that you want that your children are going to thrive through this process. And realize you don't have to do everything your lawyer says. You don't even have to hire a lawyer immediately. All the law is it just the law is the minimum standard. It's government's way of regulating relationships. It's the minimum standard. And all of those issues, like for example, child support, it's really about how 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 do we support our children so that they can thrive, right? Like that's a much better question than being told, "Oh, you must pay child support." So, I'm just going to end here and I'm going to ask, how can you see the opportunity in your family for divorce being a gift for your children? Okay? Can you see it? And the other thing is, of course, sometimes staying together, that's what harms children. That harms children far more than getting divorced. If mom and dad, they don't have to be fighting. It doesn't have to be open fighting. It doesn't have to be holes in the walls. It doesn't have to be screaming and yelling. It can be coldness, right? It can be mom and dad hardly look at each other, right? If there's tension, if there's significant tension between the two of you, because that was the dominant in my house, and it was actually harming my kids. I didn't see it at the time, but afterwards there were changes in behavior, and I realized, oh, this was caused from the tension between their dad and me. So I share that with you to give you a better idea of what's possible. And if you've been thinking about ending your marriage and you're like, I don't know what to do, I encourage you. I'm going to put in the comments a link to a group program, a very intimate group program I run for women, where I provide some information about the legal system so you can understand how to navigate in it. There's information that I provide about why the legal system is the way it is. How to keep your kids safe, right? Like, because if you are with a narcissist, that's an important consideration. But the really, really great part of Divas of Disentanglement is the sister circle. Every week during this 10-week program, they're sharing. And it isn't me being the expert. They're not looking to me for advice. They're supporting each other. They're raising, hey, this is what I'm going through, and hearing from other women who are going through it as well, which, in theory, it's like, oh yeah, whatever. In reality, the power of that is incredible. Now, as you can hear, the greyhounds have started barking, which tells me it is time to sign off. So I'm ending this stream, and check that link for Divas in the comments, and in the show notes there's actually a link so that you can book a call with me. I do free consultations on the phone, so I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.